Hey folks, so I am inspired to talk a little bit more about my life. I was watching Ian Carroll just now on YouTube, where he was talking about the GATE programs, gifted and talented programs, tag programs, talented and gifted, through Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens and all these other channels he's referencing. I am Coach Somebody. And how the government, CIA, and such have been identifying sort of the cream of the crop at very early ages, where most people who are identified early in these programs, I'm not sure what year they started these programs, the GATE and the TAG programs and things like that. But I can tell you, I was definitely identified at a young age, and while I was never formally in these programs, um, it's from what I've been able to gather from the Imagination podcast with Emma Catherine is that a lot of people who were in these GATE programs just had doors just opened for them very easily. They basically got into elite universities and stuff with very little effort and things, and whereas other people have just had roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. I've been in this latter group of nothing but roadblocks. So. If you're new to my story and don't know my background, I was living in Houston, Texas, in junior high. The man who claims to be my biological father worked in international oil and gas. He worked for Amoco, formerly Standard Oil of Indiana, with Rockefeller ties. Now, you can connect the Rockefellers and international business, international corporations and kind of extrapolate what sort of ties they have to secret societies, those in executives in these corporations have to secret societies and to the government. So, in eighth grade, in seventh grade, going into eighth grade, I was living in Houston, Texas. And I was transferring from one school from in seventh grade to eighth grade to another school in the Houston area. But just before eighth grade started, just before that school year in 1987 started, we received my family, my parents and my sister, the one sister who was my age, my oldest sister was off in college in Colorado at this time. We received 2 weeks' notice to pack up and move to Cairo, Egypt. My dad had been offered an incredible position as the vice president of Amoco Egypt. So we packed up with very little notice and moved to Egypt. And so yeah, we got to there, and there's a school called Cairo American College in Egypt in Cairo that is K through 12. It's or was about 1,300 kids, about 500 in the high school, but I started eighth grade there, and I ended up graduating high school there. So going back to these tag programs, the GATE programs, gifted and talented programs, right? The government is identifying the cream of the crop at very young ages through standardized testings and things, and then doing likely MK mind control programming on these children at young ages and using them for remote viewing and other things like that at young ages. So, now that I've had my awakening and I've been connecting a lot of dots and my dad is with the CIA, right? The man who claims to be my biological father. He has CIA ties and the CIA set up his career and made him have a very successful career. And a large part of that was through his handling of me being my handler, my primary handler. I've had many, many handlers over the years. So, but now I'm looking back and he shortly, about a year after we got to Cairo, he actually ended up on the school board of Cairo American College, where now he had direct influence over the administrators and the teachers and the curriculum and things like that. So his life goal has to make my life hell, basically. This has been his major life purpose is to deal with his unresolved trauma and shame by taking it out on moi. Anyways, so now I've come privy that many of the administrators, guidance counselors, and stuff at Cairo American College were CIA, and there's one in particular that stands out in my mind. So in spring break 1988, while I'm still in eighth grade, right, I'm pretty new to this international life and getting the feel for it. It's really exciting and stuff. And I was in a youth group, a Christian youth group, headed by this man who was murdered in, I believe it was in Malaysia about 10 years ago or something, really brutal murder. But the youth leader who eventually became an international minister, working for, he was in Guatemala and stuff. He was a pastor. His name was Dave Genter, really beautiful soul, true man of God, right? Really great guy. And I did a lot of stuff with Dave when I was 13, 14 years old and things. He was a true light worker. He was a true he was a great man. And but that spring break 1988, my sister and I went with this youth group trip spearheaded by Dave to go on a ski trip in Europe to what was then Yugoslavia. Now, this Yugoslavia obviously since has broken up into many different countries. So we went to flew into Zagreb, right, which is in Croatia, to the northeast of what was Yugoslavia. But then we went to Slovenia, what is now Slovenia, right? This was all one country. It's now Slovenia to spend, I can't remember, 5 days, 6 days on a ski trip in what is now today Slovenia. Um, I remember being having a lot of sinus issues while I was skiing and stuff. I remember one time I was carrying my skis and I was just exhausted and I had just all this snot. And I'm sorry to be graphic about that coming out of my nose, and I couldn't blow it because my hands were carrying like the skis and stuff and the boots, and I was just like, it's really gross. Well, snot, those types of things, that long stringy stuff, that's indicative of parasitic worms. A lot of times when I've traveled internationally, almost invariably, I've gotten very, very sick at the end of my trip or just shortly after I get back to wherever I'm living. And but at so we skied for I don't know 5 days or something like that, and then we had to go back to Zagreb to fly back to Cairo, Egypt to go back and finish the school year, right? And so I don't remember how many students there were there, but maybe 20 of us. I can't really remember. It was a long time ago, right? And so there was Dave leading this, but then there was a high school guidance counselor from Cairo American College. His name was Mark Moselle. He's originally from Minnesota. And right, I was in eighth grade, so he wasn't my guidance counselor at the time. But anyways, we had some interesting little exchanges. We would have like little sort of Bible talks and stuff late at night after skiing and eating and stuff. And but anyways, so we had a fun ski trip and things, but I was dealing with a lot of health issues and those stuff coming out of my nose. So we spent one night back in Zagreb before we left. And we left super early in the morning back to Cairo. Our flight was at like 6 in the morning, so we had to leave at like 4 or something. And so we stayed in a hotel room in Zagreb that one night before we're going back to Cairo. And this is the first time I was hit with these really, really crippling hypersomnia that cause tremendous brain inflammation, parasites that likely go up the nostrils and then cause tremendous inflammation right here in the frontal cortex where you can't wake up and you need to sleep for like 14 hours type of thing. Like you physically can't wake up. You can't hear anything. Your brain's just like bad. All right. And so I've been dealing with this from 1988 until about 2 years ago when I found a natural treatment for it. Um, so yeah. And so I remember I had my own hotel room for some reason. I didn't have a roommate that night. And I must have got hit bad with parasites that night. Bad. I had my glasses and things, and I couldn't wake up. And Dave and Mark Moselle, Dave Ginter and Mark Moselle were like banging on my hotel door, like, Greg, wake up, we gotta go. And because I couldn't wake up, and we were all taking a bus to go to the airport to fly out. I almost caused the entire youth group to miss the flight back to Cairo, and that really would have been a big deal, missing an international flight for being the cause of 25 people missing this international flight. That would have been a really big deal. Um, but yeah, and so most all of my illnesses have been intentional. And most all of my health problems have been intentional, both chronic and acute. Basically, anytime I've had a big job interview, anytime I've traveled internationally, I've gotten sick, like really, really badly sick. As I already said, obviously none of the students would have done anything malicious, like doing, like bad. Right? We're all adolescents, right? Um, so. There's Dave Ginter, who's was a true man of God. He was a light worker and had the kindest of hearts. And then there was who's left? Mark Moselle, the international school guidance counselor who works at all these international schools and monitors children's progress and yeah. So yeah. And interestingly, my dad was buddy buddy with Mark Moselle or became buddy buddy after that trip. They used to go out to this dried out lake, the Fayum Lake in the desert, and go all day and look for ancient arrowheads that were like 20,000 years at this dried lake bed or the shores of this lake and stuff. And yeah, they were both with the CIA, but my dad being an executive for International Oil Gas, and Mark Moselle being high school guidance counselor, international high school guidance counselor. Um, and so this clearly makes this man guilty of child abuse, of biological terrorism, biological warfare, right? This is bad. And so my life is just all of my hardships, all of my it's and it's likely because the government identified me as a threat to the government at a very young age for whatever reason, however I was perceived in I don't know if it was mix of personality and aptitude and things like that, but um rather than having doors open for me like a lot of gifted and talented children get, where they sort of have an easy ride into success, I was put in this other group where my life's just I've been destined to fail at every corner. Yet here I stand against all odds, and all credit goes to God and the Most High for that one, and my spirit team. But I just want to get this on the record that this my inability to wake up. Oh, and then so finally I did wake up and we did make it to the flight, barely. But I was a zombie. It's like imagine having the worst hangover of your life, but you didn't drink anything. And like you have vertigo and it's just it's real bad, right? And I had my glasses, and Mark Moselle came running in. Greg, what are you waking me up or whatever? Once like I finally opened the door or something, I finally heard something and stumbled to the door, and he just like grabbed me and grabbed my bag, and yanked me out of the room. I didn't even have a chance to grab my glasses. I didn't know what was going on. I was so disoriented. So I stumble onto the bus, the travel bus to go to the airport, and freezing in the winter. Well, it's March, but pretty cold. And I'm just like I'm just like, what is going on? It was a very, very traumatic experience for a 13-year-old boy. And I just felt so guilty, and everybody and on the bus is just like staring at me with hate, like we missed this international flight because of your sleep. And I just sat there with all this shame as a boy. Then I was like, oh my God, I don't even have my glasses. I can't see and stuff. And I remember going up to it was either Mark or Dave afterwards. I finally got it. I was like, I don't even have my glasses. They're like, well, you gotta suck it up. Okay. Like, and this is how my life has been consistently, be it through education or career or friendships or relationships or even hobbies. Everything. I've been set up not only to be sabotaged and fail, but for me to internalize all the shame, like all these catastrophic things that are happening or could have happened are my fault. Wow, our government is so dark. It's so evil. I mean, do you understand? I mean, it's one thing to identify the cream of the crop at a young age and to nurture them. But man, to and this had to have been planned before we even left Yugoslavia. I wondered why my parents were so eager to send us on this trip, my sister and I, but they were. And so this was orchestrated. And that means Mark Moselle was carrying these parasites likely across international borders, or he could have picked them up from a CIA rep in Yugoslavia at the time, either in Belgrade or in Slovenia. It's hard to say, but it was undeniably Mark Moselle who did this, and he was always very, very. Mhm. Yeah. Once I went to high school and he became my guidance counselor, he was never Never not once supportive of me. And a matter of fact, the entire school administration was really horrible with me, as were a lot of the teachers, but not all the teachers. Not all of them were in. Um, but man, yeah, and but interestingly, this school was, there were 500 people in the high school, 40 to 50 nationalities in the high school. But these were children of diplomats. They were children of executives from all branches, from military contractors like General Dynamics, Pfizer Pharmaceuticals, and Bayer Pharmaceuticals, or children of academics who were professors at the American University in Cairo. There was the daughter of Kent Weeks, who was the most renowned Egyptologist at the time, an archaeologist affiliated with the University of Chicago. And this was an elite group of people, and many of these people who I went to high school with, who are obviously now adults, or have likely had a lot of handlers either opening doors for them or closing doors for them to take on certain roles. And I have to wonder, in these international schools found across the world where these children of the elite go to schools, how many of them are mind controlled by the CIA from a young age and are groomed, you know? So I don't know. I just felt compelled to share this story and kind of get it on the record today. I made reference to it in a TikTok before, but I didn't state any of this explicitly before. So I just want to do that right now. I don't know. Um, I'd really love to get to know the whole truth but I really just I want justice, man. I don't want my life to be so challenging all the time. I don't mind hurdles, your normal ups and downs of life, but man, just it's a bit much. It's pretty exhausting. It's pretty exhausting. So, anyways, I don't know if anybody's going to get anything from this, but I want to put this out there into the universe, this story. So, have a great day. Bye.